from a macro perspective in the US, we got a lot of FOMC speakers, including Powell on Friday. Here's the thing. We already know Powell said there will be 3 rate cuts this year. So I anticipate all these people will be pretty dovish and say, yeah, inflation is under control and we're going to start cutting rates. I doubt any of them will say, well, I don't agree with Powell. I don't think we should be cutting rates at all. I mean, it doesn't really matter what they say. The only thing that matters is what Powell thinks. So, but I anticipate this week, starting today, could be quite good from a macro perspective. Once the rate starts getting cut, the money's going to start flowing. And flowing is good. Where will they flow? Well, a lot of it into crypto. That's for sure. That's for sure. We do have a lot of economic data also. GDP numbers coming out this Thursday. Of course, you have core PC inflation. That is good. Hopefully, that doesn't tick up. If that ticks up in a big way, that may push back the cuts. But if it's in line or comes below expectations, well, then it's going to be good. We're going to get the very first cut probably in May. I would say in May, we will get the very first cut shortly after the halving event. That would be absolutely fantastic. Fantastic all around. Now, what about this one individual, Robert Kiyosaki? He wrote a book report of a tweet, okay? He's buying 10 more Bitcoin before April. Guess why? Because that's a halving event. Why? Well, because I said so. Because I said it's a halving event. Basically, and he's quoting Michael Saylor in here and this and that. Like, basically, he realized some time ago that, yeah, he's been one of the biggest gold and silver bugs because he believes that the whole system is going to crash someday. And he's probably right about that. His time frame has always been a little bit off because he predicted it like 20 years ago and it hasn't happened yet. But still, he knows what he's talking about. The smart money knows that the U.S. is the biggest debtor nation in the world. China's profit market is toast. Japan has been in a depression since 1990. Germany is sliding in depression. Mom and pop consumers are living on credit cards. Banks are in trouble and the world is on the brink of war. I mean, these are all great reasons why you shouldn't trust central banks. You shouldn't trust people in power to actually safeguard your money. Okay? And that's why you need something better like Bitcoin. And he understands that about gold and silver, but now he truly understands that about Bitcoin, right? So I think a lot of people are going to load up before April. I think they have been loading up. They've been loading up for a while. Okay, but we just have this pesky grayscale that keeps on dumping. As soon as they stop dumping, we'll be back to 73 and back to 75 in no time. And here's the thing. At 75, well, let me show you. I'll get there. But there's very significance with 75K. According to on-chain activity, very little people want to sell Bitcoin. Like, I don't get who will want to sell, right? Of course, I've shown graphs that have shown that, like, retail investors have sold, but, you know, the big boys, the long-term holders, the miners, the institutions that are now in, the private companies, like, I mean, the big whales, not really. No one's really selling. If you look at the camera here, if I remove the camera, you'll see on the right side, you can see how it's flat since January, right? So that's good. That's good. Like, basically, no one wants to sell Bitcoin. Like, who wants to sell Bitcoin right now when we're on the cusp of making a new high and heading to $100,000? Now, as soon as, like I said, Grayscale, as soon as they stop selling, that's when we will start flying. It's actually quite amazing that Bitcoin has done so well despite the selling. Grayscale sold an astronomical number last week, and Bitcoin still held. Didn't go to the 50s. Didn't really drop all that much, and now we're back to 67,000 again. Again, if that doesn't tell you how strong Bitcoin is right now, I don't know what will. So if you look at Grayscale, total outflow is close to 14 billion. Last week, they sold 2 billion. In a single week, they sold $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. Now, the other ETFs, including BlackRock, try to do their best to basically, soak that up. But there was a negative of 887 million last week. 887 million. But if you look at the total flows overall, Grayscale sold 13.8 billion. Okay. BlackRock bought 13.3 billion, so basically equaling out. And then you have the others. The net inflow is still 11 billion. Yeah, 11.2 billion overall, right? But again, we had a horrible week last week because the ETFs couldn't soak up what Grayscale was selling. $2 billion in a single week, and yet we're right back up to 67,000. I mean, again, that should tell you how strong Bitcoin is and how very little people really want to sell. Okay? And here's the thing. If we do break back up to 73, which I think could happen anytime, it could happen today, it could happen tomorrow, and in a week, but I think it can happen anytime. There's very little volume between now and 73,000. But there's $6.6 billion through the shorts at 75,000. So if we break through 75,000, we're going to get a massive short squeeze that'll probably drive us to $80,000 in no time. Okay, so we're waiting for that, getting back to 73, and if we could push a little bit more, break through that 75, man, you're going to get a lot of shorters. You're going to get them wrecked, right? That's what's going to happen. That squeeze is going to get them wrecked for sure.